Okay. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Culinary Business Network presented by Feed the Soul Foundation, a place where you can connect with like-minded culinary professionals, learn from industry experts, and grow your business all at your fingertip with one virtual membership platform. I'm your host, Karina Fernandez, Program Director of Feed the Soul Foundation, and we're so glad you're joining us today for this exclusive masterclass series. Because today we're going to tackle one of the most crucial parts of running a successful culinary business, which is dun dun dun, payroll and compliance. And I know that's a mouthful, and some people can get scared about compliance and payroll, but let's be real. Running a culinary business is tough. And between managing your staff and keeping up with your kitchen and just trying to grow in general, payroll can sometimes feel like just one more thing on that overflowing plate. And it could also be, like I said, it could be confusing. It could be time consuming and downright risky sometimes. And when it's not done right, it can put you in a really stringent place. And trust me when I say mistakes equal money. So especially for culinary businesses, but don't worry, that's why you're here. And we brought in two experts in payroll from ADP to help us break down and help you protect your business from costly mistakes. And so joining us today, I have two wonderful ladies that we have worked together to help small businesses like yours. And joining us today, we have two incredible women from ADP and one of the most trusted names in payroll, right? And HR services. So help me welcome Miss Jane Summers, Sales Executive at ADP, and Miss Natalie Del Puerto, Associate District Manager. And together, like I said, we have worked with countless businesses like yours, including restaurants, to take that stress out of payroll and help you manage, not only help businesses manage their taxes, stay compliant, and give you back that time and peace that you really need when you're running a business like this. And before we dive into some of those ADP solutions, let's talk about some common payroll mistakes that we often see in small businesses. I'm talking about misclassifying employees. Everything from how do you know if you should be classifying them as independent contractors or W-2s, overlooking state-specific payroll laws, inaccurate record keeping, missing tax deadlines, and mixing, and we do this a lot, I know we do, we mix our personal and our business finances. And how does that affect your business as a whole? The good news is ADP has built an ecosystem and has built those tools for you to solve all of those things for you. So I'm going to bring onto the stage Miss Natalie and Miss Jane. Let me pull them up. Here's Natalie. And here is Jane. And before we get started, just tell us a little bit about you all, how long you guys have been with ADP, and or just in your role. HR is a beast in its own, and asking a business owner to be an expert in HR is nearly impossible, right? And so how do we leverage people like yourselves and tools that ADP has to really help small businesses, like I said, take back the time and and save them money? So I'll let Natalie and Jane introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves.
Yes, thank you so much, Karina, for having us. I'm super excited to be here and kind of just discuss ways that we've been able to help small business owners stay compliant and put some time back into their business without having to worry about those pesky tasks like you mentioned. My name is Natalie Del Puerto. I'm a district manager here at ADP. I specialize with businesses with employee groups 1 all the way up to 49 employees with managing their payroll, HR support, and just giving them time back in their day. I have been able to help tons of restaurants in my area of Houston, Texas, and I'm really glad to be here and talk about some ways that I can help businesses like yourself.
Wonderful. And my name's Jane Summers. I'm the sales executive here. So I manage a group of 10 reps all over the Houston Metroplex with ADP, all things HR and payroll services. I have worked all over Texas, in Dallas, Houston. I know a bunch of restaurants out there. So very well versed in the industry, and I've worked at ADP for over 4 years. So quite a bit of experience within the HR and payroll field. Our specialty is helping small businesses and making sure that, you know, everything on the back end is all tidied up, and like Natalie mentioned before, like making sure that you guys are spending your time doing revenue generating tasks rather than dealing with the nitty gritty of payroll and all the fun things and not so fun things that, you know, you're responsible for being a business owner. So really excited to meet with you guys today and talk to you guys high level about all the different ways that we help small businesses stay organized and in turn help you guys grow and flourish. So super excited. Thank you so much, Karina, for having us. We love working with your group and all the people in it. So super excited for today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, both of you, for coming on and giving us some nuggets and some insight. Full transparency, we also use ADP here at Feed the Soul Foundation, and they actually has saved us a lot of money. Thinking about, you know, choosing a platform or just choosing a service can be overwhelming sometimes, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And making sure that we as a foundation provide you the right tools to be able to be successful in your business. ADP has also been very generous in their services. You can also get a free HR screening. We did talk about this during our culture session last month. And so we just wanted to remind you all that they are available for a free HR. You are able to have a free HR screening with ADP. So let's kick it off with some basics. Natalie or Jane, whoever wants to take this, how can ADP help culinary business owners avoid these payroll pitfalls? I mentioned, you know, some of the ways that we make mistakes is staying on top of payroll, understanding the difference between a 1099 and a W-2 and what that actually means for a business owner in terms of being a costly mistake. So I'll turn it over to the both of you to kind of walk us through some of that.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of just starting off at a high level, what we do best is help businesses simplify, you know, and automate those back office tasks that can slow them down. And what really slows a lot of business owners down are the different points that you mentioned, right? Like knowing what the difference is between a W-2 or a 1099, paying employees, staying compliant with ever-changing tax laws, and managing the complexities that is HR. You know, whether it's a startup group with just a few employees or, you know, a huge restaurant group with different locations and tons of employees, we help with it all. We help streamline operations and reduce risk. And what really sets us apart is not just the technology, but the service behind it. As you know, we really work as a partner and not just a platform. We do also, you know, help employers stay compliant, you know, improve their employees' experience and retention, just free up their time so they can focus on what really matters most, which is growing your business. And so for our partners, we also are able to add value by, you know, helping protect your client relationships and with your own, you know, Patreons, and just opening doors for, you know, deeper engagement within your business. So at the end of the day, our goal is to really make running a business easier and more efficient. And so business owners can get out of the weeds and back to, you know, leading their industry with confidence.
Yeah. And so you said some really good points. And touching back on what is the difference between and why do some business owners I'm sorry, let me step back. Why should business owners really think about that switch between a 1099 and a W-2? I'm going to put something on the screen really quickly. What are the benefits to a business owner in terms of compliance of turning their employees into W-2s and not leaving them as 1099s? We understand, right, that, not having to pay taxes on an employee is beneficial because you think you're saving money, but are you really saving money in the long term? And whoever wants to answer that.
Yeah, I'll take this one on. So I think it's always scary, right? Like you're a new business owner, you're maybe stepping into a role where you're like, what is payroll? What are payroll taxes? Yes, I've been paid as a W-2, but I have no idea, what money they took out and where it went. Maybe you're hiring on some people and yeah, it sounds great. Maybe not taking out the taxes. However, if you're the business and your name's on the business, it's your EIN, you're the one who's responsible if something goes wrong, right?
Right.
And what happens a lot of times is, we have this thing called unemployment. I know during COVID, right? Like so many people went and filed unemployment because they weren't working and they got a lot of money from the government. If you've been paying an employee and you've been paying them as a 1099 and you've just been giving them money and they go to file unemployment and the IRS finds out, hey, why is this person filing for unemployment? We didn't even know they worked for this business. The IRS is going to come back to you and say, hey, like, we didn't see any taxes being paid for this employee. Not only are you going to have to pay the taxes, you're going to have to pay a late fee and, interest on it as well. So kind of going back towards, what is a 1099 versus a W-2? A 1099 is going to be someone who works for you on a contractual basis. What that means is if you have someone that comes in monthly and like cleans your house, or you hire someone to do a project and you're going to pay them, $500, $2,000 to do that project, but they're not working on like an hourly cadence, that would be a 1099. If you have someone coming in, weekly, on an hourly schedule, they have a schedule, that is technically a W-2 employee. And like I mentioned before, the IRS is not really someone you want to mess with because in turn, they probably will find out and then you will have to pay those fees with, additional interest on top and a late fee. So it's not fun and it's detrimental for a business. And since your name is on it, like you just want to make sure that, you're doing everything to keep operations going. And to in turn grow your business and not necessarily set yourself up for failure. And I know it's scary, and I know like paying a W-2 employee is scary, but you take the risk of running a business. You want to make sure that everything that you're doing, all the work that you're doing, is going to pay off long term. And no one likes to pay taxes. We get it.
No.
We know. We're not trying to the barrier of bad news, but we do want to make sure that you are doing things correctly. And if you have any questions and if you have any one-offs, like Natalie and I are always open ears and always able to talk to you about it, and have a little bit more in-depth conversations. If you don't know if someone's a W-2 or 1099, we're more than happy to walk you through with that. And not to say ADP can't pay 1099s. We do have the capabilities of paying 1099s and paying contractors through direct deposit with our software, which is amazing. So, we're not biased to either, if you have a bunch of 1099s working for you, we're also happy to help out. But it is important that, you make sure you're doing things, compliantly. So
yes. It. So I love what you touched on also during the pandemic, as a matter of fact. Those businesses, and I saw it because I got phone calls and I got, people reaching out. They missed out on money. They missed out on money because they were paying most of their employees as 1099s, and they missed out on those PPP loans and a lot of other things. So when you're anticipating things like this happening too, who was going to anticipate a pandemic? Nobody, right? But it not only it is you're becoming more compliant and making sure that your business structure is correct. I think there's also some nuances with W-2s too, versus 1099s in terms of the fees and in terms of compliance and overtime and this and that. And so making sure that you do classify your employees properly is really beneficial. So thank you for mentioning all that, and especially the tools that you guys have too, which really makes it streamlined. I know for us, speaking personally, making sure that all of our employees are classified properly, and even just the difference between the full-time and the part-time, right? A lot of business owners also have full-time employees and part-time employees, and you don't have to think. I understand that some business owners will do this manually, because I've seen it. They do all of their payroll on their own. And I'm like, whoa, that is taxing, right? Because now you have to figure out, and you might not even have a bookkeeper. You might not even have an accountant, and you're trying to do this on your own. You're having to figure out how much taxes for a full-time employee, how much taxes for a part-time employee do I have to pay? And the fact that you all have that all streamlined is really beneficial. So let's talk about some other pitfalls that you guys, or pain points that you all see in small business owners, that you all deal with on pretty much on a daily basis. What other things? I mean, we talked about overlooking, some state specific laws, or just the record keeping. Touch on some of those if you can.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, talking on overlooking state-specific payroll laws is a big thing. Every state and sometimes even cities have their own payroll rules. It includes things like minimum wage, paid time off or sick leave, requirements with taking breaks, and how final paychecks must be handled. For example, if your business operates in more than one city or state, it can be a challenge to keep up. You have to make sure that it's all being filed with every single state that your employees work in. And so with ADP, our platform really helps automatically apply for those, local regulations when you run payroll, and sends you, alerts when laws change. So these are all, like we mentioned, those small, tiny things that, maybe people don't think about. Say your restaurant operates, or your business operates in a small state, and employees drive in from the state underneath to come to work. You might not even, think about, hey, I'm registered for, my unemployment tax services in this state. However, I also need to be registered in that one. So these are those little small things that slip through the cracks, that really, make it, it can really take a toll in the future, and really, rack up those costs that you might not want to think about, as you're trying to continuously grow, your culinary business. Time labor costs are a very big thing as well. Not keeping track of how many hours your employees work can really be, detrimental in the future. Having time clock keeping systems to ensure that your employees are coming in on time, and keeping up with overtime is also a very big thing that we can help solve. So when you're creating your business, it's those little things that really do fall through the cracks that we're able to catch for you.
Nice. And I like go ahead, Jane. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback, a little bit off what Natalie mentioned about, the cost of time labor. She mentioned, making sure that you have something in place to figure out, when your employees are coming in and when they're leaving. That can add up. It's crazy, how often we have employees that leave 5 minutes early. They show up 5 minutes late. That's 10 minutes a day. If they're working 5 times a week, it's about an hour a week. And then you add that per month, that's, 4 hours a month. Right. That'll, be costly for a business, where we've actually found out that, like, putting a timekeeping software in place that holds people accountable for clocking out for lunch, like what Natalie mentioned, making sure that they either show up on time or
Mhm.
that they're not getting paid for the time that they're not there is really important. And I think it relates a lot to the restaurant industry just because, there are so many moving parts. You guys have your hands full and arms pulled in so many different directions that,
Directions.
you
Yeah.
know, you don't want to make sure that you're just saying, hey, they're scheduled for 9 hours a day, and then they only worked 8. That's costly for your business. So it's super important that, you think about those things. And we see that putting a timekeeping software in place is a big time and money saver for y'all.
Nice. And then tell me the timekeeping, it's an app, or it's because some restaurants use their POS system to clock in, clock out.
Yeah.
But are you saying that they could also clock in, clock out on like an app, or it's on their POS system and then it gets integrated? Talk to me about something like
Yeah,
that.
there's 3 different ways that ADP timekeeping can work for your business. So one is going to be a physical clock. That physical clock can be in your location. If you have multiple locations, we can give you multiple physical clocks. There's either the face recognition or we have a finger
Okay.
scanner. So that will make sure that, they clock in, clock out. Another one is if you have just like a desktop computer, you can have them clock in and clock out, log in and log out through the desktop computer at your location. Or we actually do have a mobile app as well. It is geolocated. So what that means is, you can make sure people aren't, clocking in and clocking out from home. And you can make sure they're, at the actual restaurant and in your location. So that
Right.
can also help out as well.
Right.
But yeah, multiple
Okay.
different
And
ways.
yes, absolutely. And I, Natalie, you mentioned something about state businesses that are actually in different states, or
Right.
businesses that are operating in one state, but maybe their employees drive in. And we do have situations like that, especially in New York. I did have a business owner that had to figure out, right, the taxes that she owed for her employees that were coming in from New Jersey. And so,
Right.
and that's something, you don't know what you don't know, right? How was I
Mhm.
supposed to know that I needed to pay taxes for a New Jersey employee if they're working
Right.
in New York, right? But making that connection and understanding that that does happen. And if you live in a border town, right, bordering a 2 states, right, you have Texas and New Mexico, it's very common that also that situation can happen as well. So I like that you mentioned that, and it is something that within our network of business owners, a lot of them are in New York, and a lot of them do have New Jersey employees, or even in the DMV, right? Virginia
Yeah.
and Baltimore, that is common too. And so how do you stay abreast on those compliance issues? Okay, so let's kind of shift gears into those now that we're talking about tax deadlines and taxes in general. This is something also that we run into in business owners, that they just we're so busy, and it just doesn't really occur to us unless you have an accountant, or you have someone that holds you accountable for those tax deadlines. Can you talk to us, like, just briefly, on what important dates should business owners either put on their calendar or just mentally prepare for when we're talking about like those tax deadlines? And I'll put something on the stage really quickly, because you guys did a great job of kind
Yeah,
of
I can.
identifying those.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to consider.
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead, dive into it.
I can go ahead and take this one. So obviously, right, like the purpose of having a solution like ADP is to kind of take this off of your back. But people that are doing payroll in-house and people who are running people on their own or payroll on their own, this is what they're responsible for. So federal unemployment tax, like we mentioned, if you're paying $500 or more per quarter, which I'm sure you are, it is due the last day of the month. And then federal income tax is monthly and it's due by the 15th. Or if you're processing payroll, on a quicker cadence, it's semi-monthly. semi-weekly, I apologize. If you're processing payroll weekly, bi-weekly, or semi-monthly, you have to file those taxes semi-weekly. And then Social Security and Medicare taxes, same thing. If you're processing payroll monthly, it's due on the 15th. And if you're processing payroll bi-weekly, semi-monthly, it's due semi-weekly. So obviously, like, that's a lot of money movement. That's a lot of responsibility that is put on business owners' backs if they are, doing payroll in-house. Payroll is one of those things that you don't really want to mess with if you're a business owner not knowing what you're doing. And obviously, like, due to the partnership that we do have with, Karina and the Culinary Business Network, like, we are able to obviously give you guys really good discounts for moving over to ADP, where we will actually take care of all of this stuff. So once you become an ADP client, we take on full tax liability, meaning that your sole responsibility as a business owner, instead of having to worry about all of these dates and having to worry about payroll, is just telling us or keying in how much your people are getting paid. We'll figure out the rest. Like, this should not be something that, you are taking on as a responsibility as a business owner, because there's too much room for error. And this is not something that you really want to mess with, or put your business in a bad situation. Because like we mentioned, late fees, making sure that you're doing things correctly, how complicated it can get on a, state and local tax, precedents. So something that, we try to make as easy as possible. I always like to, tell people whenever we're showing our product, like, it's the payroll for dummies. Like, we make it so easy for you to process payroll, that it doesn't need to be as complicated as it might seem, or as scary as it might seem. Because obviously, like, there's a lot that you're responsible for when it comes to payroll. But yeah, like, these are the main things. In terms of tax filings, ADP will take care of the 941s. So the 941s is going to be, all of your federal payments due quarterly. So we'll go ahead, file all the 941s for you. At the end of the year, we'll file your 940s. So that's going to be, all of your federal taxes, on a yearly annual basis. We'll file that for you. And then we also file, depending on the state, your state unemployment and your state income tax quarterly filings. So payroll taxes are obviously the payments for the taxes are made semi-weekly, usually, especially for restaurants, because you guys pay usually more than monthly. I know your employees like to get paid, and missing a pay date for them is obviously a really big deal. So, we'll handle all the nitty gritty on the background, but yeah. And in turn, we also will do the W-2s at the end of the year. So we'll send W-2s out to the employees, out to you as the business owner, and then we also e-file for 1099. So the IRS did change a law. I think it's about 2 years now, that all 1099s, if you have over 10 employees, and this can be a combination of 1099s and W-2s, that all the 1099s need to be e-filed. So you can't just write a handwritten 1099 form and hand it to them and think it's going to be all good. You have to e-file it, because the IRS is honing down even on, 1099s, and making sure that, they're staying responsible for their payments as well at the end of the year. Because in turn, yes, 1099s, it may seem like they're not paying any taxes, but they're going to have a big 1099 tax bill at the end of the year.
Right.
So very important.
Does she feel? Oh, she froze. Oh no. Jane? It's okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, to her point, like, what's really great too about ADP and, the risk of missing tax deadlines is that we take full liability for everything. So if there's ever an error, we'll take the responsibility, cover the penalties, which gives you the peace of mind and more time to, focus that, additional responsibility on, those back office processes that, you as a business owner may have. So that's really one of the biggest wins that we have as a company to help others.
Absolutely. And just to bring it home, and we've run into business owners that, again, I didn't know I had to pay payroll taxes. I didn't know this or that. And it was to the point where the state was coming after them and saying, hey, we need this money. Like, you said you were working, and that, and you had these employees and you made all this money. Where's our money, right? It got to the point where they actually had to file for bankruptcy and they had to close their doors. And business owners, I'm going to bring Jane back. Hi, Jane. Welcome back. Oh, she froze again. Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Okay. No, we were just having the conversation of personal experiences with business owners that did not pay their employee state taxes because they didn't know that they had to. And it just went over the years. And I think it was almost like 5 years of not paying.
Oh, wow.
And the state came around and said, you owe me money. And they just, even if they were going to be set up, because the state can offer, a payment plan and all this, but even with those payment plans, it was just too much money. And so they had to file for bankruptcy, and they ended up closing their doors. And we don't want culinary business owners in our network to close because of these, costly mistakes that can easily be fixed. If only, the term, right? If only I knew. Well, if only is here. And so that is why, we like to bring, partnerships to alleviate some of those costly mistakes. And so another thing too on costly mistakes, and how to fix them, right? Because we're all about finding the solutions to these problems. How does ADP automatically calculate, deduct, and pay all of those payroll taxes? I know you all mentioned the platform. I understand that there's different types of services with you all, again, depending on the size of your company, as well as the tools that you can kind of, a la carte bring in. And so I know you guys talked about timekeeping, what other things, tools that you all have in your arsenal. Another thing too I want to mention is how personable you guys are. You're not just a chat. You're not just a chat bot. You're not just a platform where, I can't pick up the phone and I'm, waiting 3 or, 1 or 2 hours just to get someone on the line. I really do appreciate the personalness of you all, and what you all bring to the table. So talk to us about other tools that business owners can really a la carte use that you all have in your arsenal.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to. So, as you mentioned, we do, way more besides, just payroll, HR, tax services. One of the biggest ways that we help businesses is by having and providing them that employee retention that so many, workers are looking for whenever they are entering that job market. And so a few things that we, like to discuss when meeting with these business owners are benefits such as, maybe considering a retirement plan. A lot of new people who are entering the work market think about these things, how long am I going to be working before I can retire, right? And will this job that I put all my time and effort into provide me with the tools I need to live a happy future? We have, specialized and licensed partners that we can bring along to meetings to just have that conversation with you. Speaking on retirement plans, not only does that help you, put money aside and allocate those funds to be able to retire in the future, but it also helps business owners save on taxes too. The government provides a lot of incentives to business owners, especially small business owners, to have a retirement plan in place, because they know that, with things such as Social Security dwindling, in the future, they know that, hey, maybe we won't be able to provide that security like we once were able to promise in the past. So let's start giving business owners things like tax credits when we see that they have plans in place to, make sure that their employees are set up for the future. These are all things that we are able to talk about at a high level with you all. And, just show you that it is an option, that it can be an affordable option as well. And, cut back on some taxes like that. Additionally, we can help with things such as setting up, health and benefits for yourselves and your employees too. We're able to shop rates and find what best works for you and your budgets. We are able to also provide tax credits in a way through our R&D research and development program, where say, you as a culinary business owner are trying to develop a new, type of beer, or maybe even, something that hasn't been done yet for your space. We're able to actually find those funds for you and help your business prosper. So the list goes on and on, but we're able to really
I didn't know that one. That's pretty
cool. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Great. Yeah. So, as you can see, we're able to dive into so many ways other than payroll and HR and tax services that can really, as we keep mentioning over and over, give you time back into your day and also money back into your pockets.
Nice. I think there's even a statistic, right, that ADP pays like 1 in 6 or 1 in 4 employees in the United States. What is the stat? Was it 1 in 6?
Yeah, so we pay 1 in 6 Americans and 1 in 4 Texans. Had to bring the Texas stat because we're located in Houston. We can help anyone.
And I'm looking on the site too. Another great tool that I think is really beneficial in terms of the value of your services is the workforce management, right? I know that your system links with what is it called? Like the ZipRecruiter and
right.
And what else was it? Like you can upload job descriptions and it'll distribute it over.
Yeah, so kind of diving a little deeper into, ways that we can help you guys and different products that we offer, aside from payroll. There is another stat. I think ADP only, I guess like our percentage of what we offer is 19% is payroll. The rest is everything else to help your business flourish. So there's like so much that we can do. We can help all shapes and sizes of businesses. I think that ADP's small business space is about 85% of ADP's total revenue. So I know it seems like ADP, big name, seems like, maybe your company might feel a little too small for it. That is so wrong. Natalie and I, like we mentioned, specialize in small business services. And our typical sweet spot is probably 2 to 7 employees. So we help all businesses, all shapes and sizes. And, in terms of, helping everyone from hire to fire, we do have partnerships with companies like ZipRecruiter. And since ADP has our big buying power and we're so large in the market space, we do also have a partnership with this company called Career Plug. And Career Plug actually helps you post on every single job board. So I know that different industries have different job boards that work a little bit better for them. So CareerPlug actually posts on Monster, Indeed, Facebook, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, all the major job postings. You can say, hey, this is how much I'm going to pay them. If you guys are going to be offering benefits, like this is what our package looks like. This is how far in like miles away that, we want to hire within. And it'll actually just pull the top candidates from all the job postings and then send those directly to you. That way you don't have to post on multiple job boards and go and try and find, those top candidates, because it can obviously be really overwhelming for a business owner to, that's wearing a million hats to feel like they have to be, also a recruiter as well. So we do have the ability to, help with the whole life cycle of an employee and making sure that we're there every step of the way from, finding that talent to all the pre-onboarding steps that you need to take, making sure that, they're signing off on, HR needs and a handbook and all that good stuff while they're employed by you. And then also making sure that you're terminating them correctly so that, if someone does go and file an unemployment claim, however, they were, termed like because they were not performing or they weren't living up to your standard.
Right.
There's ways that we help you guys protect you as a business owner, because, if you're firing someone because they're doing something that's against, your policy, they can't file for unemployment. And we're going to help you fight that and make sure that, we're protecting your business at all costs.
Yeah. No, that's great. You brought up something else too, and I know our community struggles with this, and I love that you all have these tools at their disposal. One thing that we struggle with is employee handbooks. We all have, situations, and I hope not everyone has these situations where either, an employee is stealing, an employee, there's misconduct, or there's, just these. We know that we, as business owners, we deal with people, and in dealing with people, we need processes in place when when SHIT hits the fan, right? What do you do? Like, what do you do? Well, guess what? You should. The proper way of setting yourself up for success is having an employee handbook, and then also continuously updating that employee handbook to meet the needs of the time, right?
Right.
And I know that you all have really awesome tools, and I want you to kind of touch on that, on the templates, the employee handbook templates, and where they're housed, and how how employees can access them, as well as the business owners, and the legal side too, right? You guys also have
Right.
That aspect too, where legal is expensive, but it they can tap into some of those services. So I'll let you all kind of pull on that.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
So you're 100% right. One of the best tools that I believe, anyway, that we have to offer is our employee handbook wizard. What it does is it just simplifies creating and maintaining a customized employee handbook for you as a business owner to have and protect yourself. Like Jane mentioned, in the case where somebody tries to file an unemployment claim, because at the end of the day, if you have that handbook and your employee signed off on it, that is ammo enough to fight that claim and protect your business and your money. So where we kind of shine in that is we are able to give you a custom employee handbook that is full of all the federal and state laws that an employee handbook should have, that will be continuously updated as laws are changing. Right. So anytime something does change, you'll be notified, your employees will be notified. They will be prompted to sign off on that new policy update. So that way you really have that peace of mind knowing that your employees know what the rules are. In that employee handbook, you're able to add all of your, company's specific rules and policies that you believe your employees should know, and edit it whenever needed. This is just a really great way to communicate policies and regulations and benefits that your employees need to know. It helps set expectations about performance and conduct, and it can really help you respond to any employee claims and proactively address any employee questions too. And as far as legal, it's great because we kind of loop this all in under HR, but it really goes beyond HR. ADP truly gives you all of the resources that you may need, that you might not even think ADP could provide for you. And it's all, under one platform that will, give you the option to look into if you feel like that is something you need. And, when meeting with us, we're able to fully just go through every question that you may have, every, routine that you do, and kind of point out ways that we can help you. And what's really great too is once you do have these things in place, like an employee handbook, you can also have things listed in it, such as company property, right? So a lot of, for instance, restaurants have to give out, aprons, right, to their servers. You can have those employees sign off saying, hey, I received this apron, June 6th. And, whenever I do leave the company, I have to give it back. That's another way of knowing that, you and your company property is protected too. So really is that all encompassing service that we're able to provide for business owners.
Yeah, Jane, did you want to? I see you. Did you
Yeah.
want to say something?
I was just going to add on the legal services side. And like Natalie mentioned, right? Like we can help you as simple as just processing payroll. We can go all the way up to providing you guys legal services. What that means, right, is I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Legal Shield, but it's really common within the small business space. And companies pay basically a monthly subscription where they're getting complimentary legal services on the small business side for people that specialize in small business. Instead of Legal Shield, ADP does have a partnership because we used to partner with Legal Shield, but now we're partnered with Upnetic. And Upnetic actually is
What is Upnetic?
legal service. Yeah, so it includes legal services, employee trainings, and it includes marketing. So in terms of legal services,
Oh no.
if we help you with forming like a collection letter, if you get something in the mail and your means, you have free lawyers to go.
Sorry, Natalie. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, what she was saying is our partnership with Upnetic is really great. So it provides legal services, a free Google Ads membership, things like that. And it helps you. It basically provides you that legal service that may be very expensive. At a discounted cost. So I think, Jane, what you were kind of mentioning is, say you get an IRS letter in the mail one day and you have no idea what that means or what you should do, you can use your Upnetic subscription that's included in your ADP service bill to reach out to a local attorney and figure out what's going on. There's a lot of changes going on right now, and you might not know where you stand as far as being a business owner. You can, if it's a legal question, you can utilize our Upnetic legal tools to, get that question answered. If it's an HR question, we have a HR help desk that can answer a super simple question like how do I properly fire someone, or something more complex, like how many, how long, or what is my specific state's regulations for, this specific topic. Right. And so, yeah, it's a very all-encompassing tool that ADP has recently decided to partner with that we found has brought a lot of success. A story that I think is really cool that we were able to help a local, bar and bistro here in Houston. The gentleman, he was paying over like $400 for a legal service locally. He was paying, an additional hundreds of dollars for marketing tools, and, ensuring that he can properly, market his business and, have those services provided for him and just really, prosper. However, it was costing a lot of his money and he hadn't even opened the business yet. He was still in those opening stages. Yeah. So, Jane and I were able to come in, talk about all of these, tools that we have that maybe he didn't think he would need in just a payroll system. But as we all know now, ADP is way more than payroll. And he was able to cancel all of those services and save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars just in 1 month because we're able to provide those marketing tools. We were able to help him build a website, and we would have, a legal professional on retainer for him whenever he has any question, all within that same, cost that he pays for the payroll services as well.
Yeah. So, and I mean, just an attorney alone, right, will cost you like $150 an hour.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that you all have them
more,
if not more, right. And yeah, I think that these, like I said, because there's so many tools that you all have at your disposal, small businesses can really leverage those tools to, one, be compliant, to save money, and making sure that, they get their time back. And that's really important. So I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to, and you guys brought up a lot of great points, I want to give the audience an opportunity to, comment below what type of, HR mistakes have you made and how did you fix them? Or, are these, everything that we've spoken about, would this be beneficial to you? And if so, as a member of the Culinary Business Network, again, you get access to all of these great resources. We'll also put a link. We'll put a link below, and even in the network, through our partnership. Oops, that's the wrong slide. Through our partnership, you all will get access to, like I said, an HR screening. This is our partnership with ADP. If you scroll all the way down, you can set yourself up to speak to someone, or you can also reach out to us and we can connect you directly with this team here as well. And what other things? We will probably have another session about everything that has to be with, like, handling all the tip employees and all these new laws that we're about to face, and weathering that storm too. I think with having partners like you all, I think would also be beneficial, having these conversations about what we're about to see, because that's those are very gray areas. And so yeah, but you know what? We got you covered with our ADP partnership. So what else? Again, any final thoughts from you all? Any takeaways? I know so let's play this. Out of the 5 costly mistakes, and I'll repeat those again, which is, misclassifying employees, which can trigger, IRS penalties, overlooking state-specific payroll laws. Every state is different. Non-compliance is very costly. Inaccurate record keeping, when you miss those deductions, when you underreport income, those are audit flags, right? Missing those tax deadlines, which could, again, quickly rack up the penalties and the interest. And then we didn't really touch on this, but, mixing the personal and the business finances, which make it nearly impossible to organize yourself and keep you compliant. So of those 5, dun, 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 Natalie, which one is the most common one, would you say, that that you've seen?
Definitely between, misclassifying employees and overlooking state-specific payroll laws. Kind of speaking on that one, I think, payroll laws are, you might not think they're there, but they're there. And, whenever I meet with business owners, I bring it up and they have no idea. So I like to go over what we call Payroll 101, where I'm able to touch on those specific payroll laws. I think that's something that is definitely worth taking a look at, even if you don't utilize our services. After watching this today, maybe go and Google what your, state and even, city payroll laws are and see if you're compliant while paying your employees.
Jane, you go. Of the 5.
So my thing is kind of a combination of all of it together, right? I think there's so much that goes on in payroll. There's so much that goes on in tax, and there's so much that you as a business owner are responsible for. The biggest mistake I see is business owners trying to wear too many hats. And that can cause for a lot of room of error. Payroll is not something you want to mess with. And you want to make sure that your business is set up for success. So I think, leaning on partners like Natalie and I, just to get, an understanding of, where your business is at and how we can maybe help, even if it's not with us. Like, we're more than happy to have that conversation. But my whole thing is, I think you'll be very surprised on the ways that we can help your business. And also, what we've been talking about the whole time is save you time and, do revenue generating actions that are going to, in turn, build your business.
Awesome. And one last question for the both of you. What is your current favorite spice or sauce or food?
Ooh. Natalie and I are foodies, so this is going to be a hard question.
Yeah. Okay. So what is? let me simplify it. What is something you've been eating or cooking with on a weekly basis right now? Oh, that's hard.
I personally love anything spicy, so I
Okay.
love adding jalapenos to any single meal I make. I literally made spaghetti the other night, and I just chopped up some jalapenos and added it to it for something fresh because I didn't have any vegetables with it. So
Hey, it is
a little weird, but that's mine.
That's funny. I have two. Okay.
Okay, go.
One kind of piggybacks off of Natalie's. I'm like chicken salad connoisseur. I love chicken salad.
Okay.
So I do wheat thins with chicken salad, and I really like the ground up chicken salad. So it's kind of like a paste. And I do pickled jalapenos on top. And it is the best snack ever. If you haven't tried it, try it.
Okay.
Second, seasoning, Cavender's. Do you know what
What?
Cavender's?
No.
Have you heard? Okay.
Oh.
You have to try Cavender's. It is a Greek seasoning. Me and my boyfriend love to cook, so I always like when we're cooking, we'll put it on our hand and just like lick our hands because it is that good. You can put it on everything. It is Greek seasoning, really good on chicken. He always puts it on vegetables. They sell it at like grocery stores.
Okay.
You can probably find it online. But it's called
Cavender's.
It is
Got it.
amazing. It is so good. You have to try it.
Got it. So Cavender's and jalapenos. That is awesome. I'm like on like, yeah. Funny story. I'm on Dash. I started using Dash, the low sodium, but they have like so many variations of it, and I was like, oh, these are interesting. So, anyways, but Cavender's, I'm on it.
Gotta try it.
All right, my ladies. Well, thank you so much, Natalie and Jane, for the clarity, the guidance, and the real world tips that you have offered, small business owners that are in our network. And, it's clear that with ADP, small culinary businesses can really fine tune and, fine tune their HR and do payroll faster, smarter, and with less stress and, with less money. And so with that, to everyone watching, if you haven't, I don't know what happened. If you haven't signed up for the Culinary Business Network, there's a clicker below. Join us at Feed the Soul Foundation, FOU.org, to become part of the network so we can continue to provide you, master classes like this. And be sure to connect with Natalie and Jane through our platform if you are a member. And they are there for you to answer any questions that you may have. Again, we'll also be putting the link in the bio, the link below on how you can start the process of getting that HR screening. And also continue to check on the learning library for more tools and templates. And, again, remember, you are not alone in this journey. And when you thrive, we all thrive. And so we will see you all next time. I think our next session is going to be office hours. And then we'll also have another mastermind where we speak to small culinary business owners and their success story and how they handle, employees. We have coming up Miss Lisa Gutierrez out of Columbus, Ohio, from Dos Hermanos. They went from food truck to brick and mortars, and they have expanded into more locations. And so we'll talk to her about how she handles, payroll. And I think she does. She's actually an ADP client. So we'll make that connection also. All right, my ladies, thank you so much. And we'll see everyone next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.